So one thing I was curious about is World War II, talking about the history. So you remember the start of the war? You would have been,
Yeah, that's right. It started right before I went to Richmond. And because I remember Glenn um, talking, Mama didn't want him to go in the service. He said, but I'm going to be drafted. I'll be 18 coming up. And so he got Daddy to, so it had to be, what, in 40, it started in 41. That's when the Second World War started.
well, I think it was maybe started, I think it was it was 1940 or 41.
Yeah, because when they, well, it really started when they bombed Pearl Harbor, and I guess no. But, yeah, the only thing was I remember Mama upset, and she cried. And, of course, that's when I'd already gone to Richmond, and then they moved out there. And Daddy did some preaching. He also worked at Reynolds Manville for a while. And I guess Mama cried every day of her life out there till she got moved back to North Carolina. So I said, bless her heart, because I know I have to move back. Glenn drove the truck, and I was driving at night. And our old car you almost had to strike a match to see if the lights were on. And I was driving here, and next thing you know, I was running off in someone's driveway, I guess, because I couldn't see where the road turned.
Oh,
'Cause,
wow.
it's just driving from Richmond, and of course, Daddy drove for. Wait till it got dark, and because we drove straight through Model A. Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, Mama cried and cried. And I know when Glenn, because we didn't have a phone, and he sent a telegram, and they brought it. And Mama just went all to pieces. She just knew that Glenn had been killed, and she was all to pieces. And it was a telegram to tell us that he was coming home on furlough.
Oh.
So I guess what it was, I don't know if he needed money to come home, or maybe it was to go back home. But anyway, he had already made one or two stripes, He was good at it. He didn't get to fly the plane, but he got to drive those big old trucks, and they were building, helped build that Burma Indio Road, he said. And, but anyway, Ronnie told me that he said, it's not wonder Daddy could work on tractors or anything, because he said these little old, little tiny tablets like that used to get, well, you still get them now. He said he found in his daddy's stuff after he died just oodles of those of where he had written down how to work on those big old trucks, tanker trucks that he was driving. But he said no wonder he came home and could work on the old tractors and everything coming down the pike, it's because he learned it in the service. So. But when he came home, because we're still there in Richmond, he almost got killed. He wasn't drinking, but he was driving too fast and wrecked. And they laid him out for dead. And if it hadn't have been for this doctor at the hospital, he happened to see like a spurt of blood or something come out. And he checked him, and he said, this guy's not dead. And he was in a cast for a long time. And I know morning I came down to Richmond. He was the MCB. And he was laying there with all of that stuff on him, and he was sort of ornery too, just real. I guess he was in a lot of pain too, but he was being ugly to the nurses and all, and I didn't like that either. But anyway, after he eventually got back to where he was able to work and everything. And he retired from Rooms Metal with one of the supervisors. And
Did he ever go back to the military, or was that it? He came home and wrecked
well,
him and-
after the war was over is when he came, because when within Richmond, when it ended.
Oh, okay.
And,
Oh, okay.
I know Daddy. Well, he had gotten this other car, and so he loaded us kids and Mama in. We went downtown Richmond. Everybody was down there blowing their horns and just, celebrating because
Yeah.
the war was over. So then he soon came home.
And
after,
And that's when he had the accident? Is
Yeah,
after? Okay.
yeah.
Gosh, that's hard.
yeah.
Goodness.
And, of course, I said while he was away, his first wife lived with us, and Brenda well, we're not sure if they ever got married or not. I could never, when I'd go there, I'd say, Helen, I want to see your wedding dress. What was you married in and all that. I could never get them pinned down. But my mother said one time, she said, I don't believe those kids ever did get married. I just think that they were living together. She had Brenda, and then, of course, Ronnie came along after he came back out of the service. But I don't know, Glenn, that's when he started working at Rooms Metal.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, because Glenn was pretty hot-tempered. Anyway, he was hard to live with, I would think. So anyway, Helen just walked off and left him, took Brenda and left Ronnie with him. And so, but I've always liked his wife, Brenda. Now, his second marriage, she was a little bit, she made us feel like she was much better than we were, and that could be, it didn't bother me, but it did Betty. It made Betty feel like she was just nobody, the way her voice would do, And when she'd come down there, and Betty used to say she thought she was the queen. She never would lift that finger to help wash a dish. Because Betty used to speak like that. But anyway, of course, Glenn just didn't wake up one morning. He had taken his brother-in-law out to the mall. It was during the Christmas time. Took his brother-in-law out he would have to have a stroke. Took him out, rode him around, showed him the lights and all that, And he and Ronnie were going to look at a tractor the next morning. And Lois got up to and fixed breakfast and went upstairs to wake him. And he was dead. So I guess they said that he probably had a heart attack overnight. And yet he wouldn't put on the extra pound, and his wife better not either. So he could still wear his uniform when he. So anyway,
How old was he when he died?
59.
Oh, okay. Okay, I actually thought he was young. So Ronnie was grown before his dad died?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, see, Ronnie was in the Navy because when we were in Richmond, he came up. He was stationed down at Kitty Hawk. Let's see, what was that place down there? He came up to Richmond and spent a weekend with us. He was in the Navy. And, of course, he was in service when he met Janet.
Okay.
Well, then, their first little boy, a garage door fell on him and killed him. And of course, I was asking her about Jonathan the other day. I didn't know how much younger he was than Tony, but she was telling me, and I remember Tony saying that because Tony was building out in the West End, and her Jonathan was in he would have, it was a secret type thing, putting in wires and everything underground, like and all in these buildings. I don't know if it was something that would set off in case a war or what it
Oh,
was.
okay.
But anyway, he was well versed in those things, had a good job. But anyway, said Tony found out he was out there in that building, so said that he found out, he went out there to this building. He said, I'm looking for Jonathan Hodge. And so said, tell him a big wig is here to see him. And said, Janet was talking about that the other day when we were talking. And she said, Jonathan said, oh my goodness, I wonder what I've done wrong now, because he knew his old secret, what he was doing. And said, anyway, said, he didn't know it was Tony. Walked up to him and shook his hand and patted him on his back and all that. He said, who are you or what are you wanting with me? He said, oh, I just thought I'd come to see my cousin. Out here, so said he got away with Jonathan so bad. When he found out who it was.
Yeah.
So he and Tony become real good friends all he worked out. But
That's neat.
yeah. But anyway, she said that they both, because his wife has always had a good job and all that, but they never had any children.
So did you have any other friends who went into World War II? Were you even aware, like, because was it kind of like that?
Yeah, my boyfriend, the daddy let him come to the house, but that family had 5 boys in the service, and the boy that I dated was named John. I was 16. Daddy said you can date when you're 16, but you're not getting that riding around. He was very strict.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, when John, they had animals too that they had, but he went in the service. But he begged me to marry him before he went in. I said, John, we can't get married. I felt old enough. I didn't want to get. And so it's a good thing that we didn't, because he came back shell-shocked. And Daddy took me by there one time. I think he just wanted to see how I would react or how John would react. But out of those 5 boys, one that was in the Navy was killed. And the other 4 boys, came back. So,
Do you know
John,
do you know what happened to him?
that he went, I guess he was in where they were bombing or something. I guess he came so near, I guess it just still shocked him, that his mentality. And they said he took to drinking real bad, so I think someone told me he died years ago. Because see, my brother Mike, he had some connection in his church. This flat boy that was in school with us, he sort of, in fact, one of the girls that we were in the same class together, I went to see her when I was up at Mike and Alice's one time, and the flat boy came out there too, and we were sort of catching up on those of us that were in school together, and so he was telling me, that he, I guess the flat boy didn't have to go in service for some reason at all, but anyway, we were able to catch up with some of the ones that was in school with us and what happened,